Tonight, on First at 9 this Monday the 25th of August 2025. Case continues. Proceedings against former President Ranil Wickremesinghe to resume tomorrow. The former president's appearance in court will depend on medical clearance, says hospital officials. Fight for democracy. The opposition urges all citizens who value democracy to gather in Colombo tomorrow to protest the former president's arrest. Meanwhile, the government pledges further legal action regarding the central bank bond scam. Limiting benefits. The Supreme Court concludes hearings on multiple petitions challenging the President's Entitlements Bill. The confidential ruling on the constitutionality of the bill to be submitted to the Speaker of Parliament. Export growth. Sri Lanka's exports have grown by 7.79% in the first 7 months of this year, signalling a positive economic trend.
Asian Paint Causeway Aquasif Miladikina LED TV run voucher ඇතුළු තවත් හැකි රසක් දිනා ගන්න.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, you're joining First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. In your top story this evening, proceedings against former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is currently in remand custody over charges of misappropriating public funds and receiving treatment, and the Colombo National Hospital is scheduled to be recalled tomorrow at the 4th Magistrates Court. However, the decision to produce Wickremesinghe before the court will depend on medical clearance, according to Acting Director of the National Hospital, Dr. Pradeep Vijay-Singhe. Meanwhile, former Norwegian Special Envoy for Peace Erik Solheim issued a statement expressing support for the calls to grant the former president his freedom and due respect. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was arrested by the CID on charges of misappropriating public funds by undertaking a private visit under the guise of an official one, is currently being treated in the intensive care unit of the Colombo National Hospital.
The panel of specialists has recommended that he remains under close supervision in the intensive care unit. He is showing signs of stability. He is being monitored in the morning and evening, but his condition remains subject to change.
Political party leaders and public representatives continue to visit the hospital to inquire about the well-being of the former president.
I came today as well because he has been admitted to the hospital to check on his health condition. We respect the judiciary in our country. We believe it functions independently. However, when individuals attempt to undermine the court's authority and make personal statements before a verdict is delivered, they are essentially engaging in contempt of court. I don't believe we need to call on anyone. This country has seen people rise up on their own when they witness injustice. We saw handcuffs being placed on a president who provided food, electricity and fuel to the people during a time of great need. We believe that those who were moved by that image will come to Colombo tomorrow seeking justice and fairness. The people of this country know how to give back when it matters.
Meanwhile, former Norwegian Special Peace Envoy Erik Solheim, posting on X, expressed his support for the calls to immediately release former President Wickremesinghe. He emphasized that Wickremesinghe was the only leader who stepped forward to rescue Sri Lanka from the economic and political crisis of 2022. Solheim stated that the allegations against the former president are baseless and, even if true, would not be considered a criminal offense in Europe. While expressing full support for Sri Lanka's anti-corruption efforts, he urged the government to focus on real and meaningful issues. Similarly, Indian politician Shashi Tharoor expressed concern yesterday on X over the detention of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe. He requested that the former president be treated with the respect and dignity due to his decades of service to the nation. Senior Indian journalist Venkat Narayan, who has long reported on Sri Lanka, told India's ANI news service that India should extend medical support if the former president requires further treatment.
Actually, there is no corruption involved in what he did. He went to Cuba to attend a G77 summit. Then from Havana, he went to New York to attend the UN General Assembly. Then on the way back to Colombo, he stopped by in London. A local university, Wolverhampton University, invited both of them because they had a ceremony for Maitri. The Sri Lankan government is saying that from London, the president, Ranil, his wife, and 10 other people went to Wolverhampton. What that means is that these people were government employees. So you use them for a private trip. I would say this is ridiculous. Because of his excellent relationships with India, we gave them aid worth $4 billion. The fact that they are arresting me shows what kind of administration Anura is heading at the moment. I don't think India should intervene. If they should do anything at all, they should offer to fly Ranil Wickremesinghe to Apollo Hospital in Chennai or bring him to Delhi and offer him the best as possible treatment.
Last night, a group of opposition leaders visited the Indian High Commission in Colombo and briefed officials there regarding the former president's arrest. Religious observances were also held at the Ruanveli Mahasaya last night to invoke blessings for Ranil Wickremesinghe's recovery. Several other protests were held across the country by opposition MPs condemning the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
රුපියල් 8,900ක මාසික වාරිකයකට brand new TVS X100 යතුරු පැදියක් ගන්න.
Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa asserts that the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe is not an isolated incident but a serious challenge to democratic politics. Following a special meeting of all opposition parties today, members of the opposition invited citizens who value democracy to gather in Colombo tomorrow. A number of prominent opposition politicians convened a meeting today at the opposition leader's office under the patronage of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa to deliberate on the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the current political status of the country. During the meeting, the opposition leader emphasized that the arrest of Ranil Wickremesinghe is not an isolated incident but rather a serious challenge to democratic politics. He noted that the discussion was convened with the aim of formulating both short-term and long-term action plans in collaboration with all opposition parties to respond effectively to the current developments. Accordingly, Premadasa established a special committee led by the secretaries of opposition parties to oversee these matters. The leaders of the opposition parties agreed to convene another meeting next Wednesday, the 27th of August. Following the meeting, several political figures expressed their views regarding the current political situation.
All opposition parties have come together with a shared purpose to safeguard democracy. This discussion is centered around that very commitment. There's no doubt that the opposition stands united in resisting the government's oppressive actions. We witnessed numerous vehicles lined up outside schools each morning, including those belonging to public servants and military personnel who use vehicles provided by the government to drop their children off. Technically, they too could be charged under the Public Property Act. This highlights the absurdity and unfairness of this recent move. This is not just administrative policy, but rather an authoritarian decision driven by the JVP's political ideology. It's possible that even the president may not fully support this course of action, yet it seems he is being overruled by individuals operating from the Palawatha headquarters.
A media briefing was also convened following the discussions at the opposition leader's office.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe is scheduled to appear in court tomorrow. While we continue to place our trust in the country's judiciary, we are also acutely aware that the Criminal Investigation Department and Sri Lanka Police appear to be functioning under direct political orders, clearly pointing to the launch of a calculated political agenda. No one can reasonably claim that Ranil Wickremesinghe would flee the country or evade legal proceedings. Yet it seems the police failed to consider even the most basic conditions usually assessed when determining bail eligibility. This is a clear attempt to suppress the opposition. As such, members from all political parties will gather in Colombo tomorrow to show their collective dissent. We call on all citizens who value democracy to join us in Colombo tomorrow. Ironically, we must also thank this government for it has succeeded in uniting the entire opposition even before completing a full year in office.
And with that, here's a look at more thoughts shared in the political arena today regarding former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's arrest.
මේ ලිපිය 2023 සෙප්තැම්බර් මාසේ පළවෙනිදා.
This letter, dated September 1st, 2023, was not a private invitation sent to former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and his wife. It was an invitation sent to the then President and First Lady through the Sri Lankan High Commission in London. The police is not qualified to comment on whether the invitation received during transit was official or not. They must seek the opinion of the Attorney General. Therefore, this is an act of revenge.
මතය විශේෂයෙන් විමසිය යුතුයි. එනිසා මේක පරිගැනීමක්.
අපිට කියනවා ට්‍රාන්සිට් කියලා.
They tell us it was merely a layover. If the layover was in London, why did they spend 16.6 million rupees? Why did they travel to other cities? All of these facts have been proven. The laws that apply to government officials apply equally to the president as well. There is no difference. Not only Ranil, but investigations are also being conducted against the Rajapakshas. In accordance with the relevant investigations, the law will be enforced regardless of rank or position. The law will be enforced against former President Wickremesinghe and individuals who borrowed money from Aloysius during the bond scam. This is a significant part of the public mandate and we will ensure it happens.
ඒක ජනවරමේ ලොකුම කොටසක්. අපි ඒක කරනවා.
අනුර දිසානායක මැතිතුමා පළාත් පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණේ
Anura Disanayake spoke at many political meetings held across Sri Lanka during the local government election in his capacity as the president. I would like to ask whether he personally covered those transport and security expenses. If they were paid for by the state, then that too is wrong. During the state visit to India, the president also visited Bodh Gaya. I would like to ask whether it was part of his official duties or a personal trip.
රාජකාරීමේ කොටසක්ද නැත්නම් පුද්ගලික ගමනක්.
වත්මන් රාජ්‍ය ජනාධිපතිවරයා
When the incumbent president attended election campaigns, his transport costs were paid for from his personal funds. This kind of practice did not exist in the past. Therefore, we will not misuse state assets. If we are doing so, the opposition is free to take legal action against us. We are ready to face any sentence.
ඒ දඬුවම විඳින්නත් අපේ කිසිදු බාධාවක් නැහැ.
සමහර අමාත්‍යවරුන්ට එල්ල වෙලා තියෙන චෝදනා පිළිබඳව
No investigations are being conducted regarding allegations against certain ministers. The case pending before the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court has drawn media attention and the lack of action regarding the magistrates' orders has become the talk of the town. If the law is applied equally to everyone, public trust can be restored.
විශ්වාසය ගොඩනගා ගන්න පුළුවන්.
දැන් මේ ඔක්කොම දැන් රනිල් වෙනුවෙන් පෙනී ඉන්නවා.
Now everyone is standing in support of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and it is clear that they are all in the same boat. Each of them have accusations against them. This is a court order and it is only one of many that will follow.
තව පොලිමක් මේක එනවා.
බටලන්ද වාර්තාව අරගෙන නඩු දාලා
We have no objection to prosecuting him over the Batalanda report and punishing him. There are several corruption allegations against him regarding the bond scam and we will not object if he is arrested for that because it will not harm democracy, the rule of law or the country's image. We can show the world that our country enforces the law systematically regardless of rank or position. We the Sarvajana Balaya completely oppose the conspiracy to destroy the country's democracy. Our final stance and the common agreement of the Executive Council is to join with all opposition parties that stand for democracy and to protect both democracy and the rule of law. We are ready to work together under the broad slogan of protecting democracy. However, we would like to make it clear to opposition leaders that we are not ready to agree to other agendas.
වෙනත් න්‍යාය පත්‍රවලට එකග වෙන්නට සූදානමක් නැහැ.
හොඳම ෆෝන් එකක් ගන්න. ළඟම බාන්ස් එකට යන්න.
A shooting incident was reported today in the Vallampiti area where an individual staying at a local lodge was the apparent target. According to police, no casualties or property damage occurred subsequent to the incident. This latest shooting brings the total number of such incidents reported across the country over the past 8 months to 87, with 47 deaths and 50 injuries recorded so far.
A shooting was reported during the early hours today at a lodge in the Kittampahua area in the Vallampitiya police division. The attack appeared to be directed at an individual staying at the premises but did not result in any fatalities or property damage. Preliminary investigations indicated that 3 unidentified individuals arrived on motorcycles and used a pistol-type firearm to execute the attack. Authorities suspect that the involvement of the gang linked to an individual known by alias Wanate Chatu. Later today, a motorcycle believed to have been used in the shooting was discovered abandoned in the Angora area. CCTV footage captured the moment the vehicle was left behind, which is now part of the ongoing investigation. With the latest shooting incident, the total number of reported shootings in the country during the past 8 months has risen to 87, resulting in 47 fatalities and 50 injuries to date. Meanwhile, in a separate incident, police arrested 3 suspects aged 19 and 20 for allegedly aiding and abetting the fatal shooting of a 21-year-old yesterday on Malani Bulat Sinhala Mawatha in Boralas Gamuwa. Efforts are ongoing to apprehend the gunman and the wife of the individual believed to have orchestrated the attack. Investigators have also identified a person named Sandro from Dehiwala linked to Badovita Asanka, the alleged mastermind who was captured on CCTV, arriving at and departing from a hotel where a gathering for the shooters had reportedly been held the night before the incident.
The Supreme Court announced today that it will submit its confidential ruling to the Speaker of Parliament regarding the constitutionality of the government's bill to repeal the privileges granted to former presidents. A 3-judge bench led by Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena concluded hearings on multiple petitions challenging the President's entitlements repeal bill. President's counsel Ali Sabri argued the bill violates constitutional protections under Article 36, asserting that post-retirement benefits cannot be reduced without a public referendum. Several other attorneys echoed this view, citing threats to separation of powers and national sovereignty. However, Solicitor General Viraj Dayaratne countered that the bill is a policy move to repeal the 1986 Act, not a constitutional amendment, and therefore requires only a simple majority in Parliament. The court has given parties until next Thursday, the 28th of August, to submit written arguments before delivering its ruling to the Speaker. And with that, here's a look at more local news across the island in brief.
The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Colombo Range, Udita Sampath, was arrested today by the Criminal Investigation Department over charges of abetting the illegal excavation of a treasure. On August 15th, the Anuradhapura police arrested 8 individuals, including DIG Udita Sampath's wife, for allegedly attempting to excavate a treasure believed to be located near the Timbirikadavala Golden Temple. The suspects were produced before the Anuradhapura Magistrates Court and were ordered to be remanded until the 26th of August. The arrested DIG, meanwhile, was remanded until September 1st after being produced before the Anuradhapura Magistrates Court. Meanwhile, former State Minister Prasanna Ranavira, who was arrested and remanded for allegedly selling a plot of state-owned land in Kiribati to a private party by forging documents, was further remanded until September 8th. The order was issued after the former State Minister was produced before Mahara Magistrate today. In other local news, the remains of 2 teenagers who went missing while swimming at a beach near St. Anthony Road in Kalamulla Kalutara yesterday were discovered this morning near the shore. 3 15-year-olds were swept away by ocean currents, but local residents were able to save one of them. After conducting a post-mortem examination, the remains of the deceased were transferred to Kalutara Teaching Hospital.
The 2025 Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival, the largest event of its kind in Sri Lankan history, was successfully held yesterday at Goldface Green, drawing massive crowds and vibrant international participation. Capping off the colourful festivities, the FM Derana Boomtown Music Concert lit up Goldface Green last night, attracting hundreds of thousands of enthusiastic attendees for an unforgettable celebration.
Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival 2025.
The Sri Lanka Tourism Bureau and the Sri Lanka Police extended their official support to Derana's Signal Colombo International Kite Festival, proudly brought to the nation by TV Derana, offering Sri Lankans a rare opportunity to experience an international kite festival on home soil. The festival officially began at 1 p.m. yesterday at Goldface Green, Colombo, featuring a remarkable lineup of 500 local competitors and 55 international participants representing 25 countries. Thousands of spectators from across the island gathered at Goldface Green from early afternoon, eager to witness this iconic event, returning after 7-year hiatus. For many, it was the first time chance to experience the magic of a nighttime kite festival, which lit up the Colombo sky in spectacular fashion. The festival featured competitions in 7 categories, with valuable prizes awarded to winners, adding a spirit of friendly rivalry and celebration. The kite festival drew significant international attention, with several international media outlets reporting on the event. Bringing the festival to a grand finale, the FM Derana Boomtown musical concert kicked off at 8 p.m. at Golface Green. The venue was filled to capacity as hundreds of thousands flocked in to enjoy a night of music and entertainment. The concert was headlined by the band Avatar and featured performances from several of Sri Lanka's top artists who added colour and energy to the night. Due to the massive crowd, large amounts of waste had accumulated around the area. However, thanks to the swift intervention of the Derana Media Network, a thorough cleanup was carried out by this morning, restoring the venue to its pristine state.
Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival 2025.
In your business news, Sri Lankan exports reached $9.9 billion during the first 7 months of this year, reflecting a robust 7.79% growth in export earnings compared to the corresponding period last year. In July 2025 alone, total exports comprising both merchandise and services reached $1.641 billion, recording an impressive 12.68% year-on-year growth. In July 2025, merchandise exports grew by 15.37% year-on-year, reaching $1.3 billion. For the period from January to July 2025, merchandise exports totaled $7.7 billion and services exports are estimated to be $337.11 million. Except for the Netherlands, the top 10 export destinations recorded positive year-on-year growth in July 2025. The Colombo Bourse began the week in negative territory as a result of price losses in counters such as Hatton National Bank, John Keells Holdings and Commercial Bank. The benchmark All Share Price Index decreased by 0.36% or 73 points to end at 20,575.59. The more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 decreased by 0.78% or 47 points to end at 6,042.51. Market turnover crossed 4.4 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers, offloading shares worth 939 million rupees. Analyst at Capital Alliance, Reshan Samarakon joins us now with a few thoughts to round off our Markets in View segment for the week.
The domestic stock market rose throughout the previous week. The ASPI rose 0.87% from 20,471 to 20,649, while the S&P SL20 rose 1.54% from 5,997 to 6,090. Market turnover decreased by 34.27% to 5.093 billion rupees. Furthermore, the government raised 78.5 billion rupees last week through treasury bill auctions, where yields for 3 and 6-month bills fell by 1 basis point and 12-month bills remained unchanged.
And with that, let's take a look at the day's foreign exchange rates. That's all for tonight from First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.